Hi there, this is Popo, I hope you'll fine. Welcome back to the Matchess miniature series, where we cover some matches that happen in real life, on real boards, against real people, actually the Friends of the Chess Club. So following the Dragon Discovery I did last time, I decided to show them another faction which is in the demo, which are the Mermaids. And actually a lot of people really enjoy the Mermaids, and I might say this is the favorite faction of most of my friends. The fact is that you control the board with some magic squares, and then you have this Kraken thing which can go everywhere on water. Like, there is a big hype thing, and I guess for new buyer of matches, the side effect, the psychological effect of the Kraken controlling everything is something that's really like. Even on the Discord server, I know that there are a lot of trash talk about the Mermaids, even I don't understand actually why they would trash talk the actual form. I guess this is a strong faction now. So the game I'm going to show you is a game that has been played some way after the discovery. Like, they were used to mermaids, but they still wanted to see what we can do with the humans against this, and especially our friend which gets always bullied. Remember the last time with the Tengus, that was a massacre. So he wanted to go with the humans this time and say, okay, with the mermaids I just have to block the squares and make sure that they wouldn't have any access. I would try to play aggressive while there's no water on the board, and maybe I would be able to win. Okay, why not? He's not a strong player, and he decided to challenge me with the mermaids. I say, okay, maybe you face some difficulties, but okay, let's play a game and you'll see. So let's show the game. We have pawn to e4, pawn to e6 going for a French defense, d4, and then knight to c6. I was expecting something like d5, but maybe I get a little the idea of this, or maybe I just don't get the idea and he's just like me, he doesn't have any chess theory. So we have fin to f3, knight to f6, and at this point I was thinking, okay, there's a call for some kind of push. Maybe this push is not available yet. I was worried the move before of pushing here. The problem is that after captures, if your knight has to move, for example, here, this pawn stays isolated, the e-file is open for the king. Like, you don't have a strong queen that controls a lot of square with the range. This is range 1. So maybe I wanted to get something close for the moment. So after knight to f6, I decided rather to push on e5, and I think this was a good move. But of course it calls for something like knight to e4. And here knight to e4, maybe you have to put the nymph on d3, and now I would likely to push d5, I guess. And here you can't really take en passant, because maybe he would take with the knight himself and get a lot of activity, because at the time the knight would go somewhere else. Let me show you the line. If I go here, for example, he can decide to go here. If I take en passant, he would take with the knight himself. And now at the time this knight would move somewhere, then you would have a lot of pressure over this pawn. Even you can defend this way. Like, he would open the way, you just have to push a pawn, and then two bishops would be likely to come. And this gives a lot of activity to the humans, and I'm not fully developed yet. So this is not something I wanted to try. So I decided to go with the main mermaid strategy. You put the nymph on big diagonals, then you're going to go back on strategic square with water, you're going to swap with pawns, you're going to develop your shells. At the same time you put your fin on thing and try to sneak for water squares, and then you control a lot of stuff, you trade a lot of things, and then the Kraken enters into the game. So some kind of thing like this is my actual plans when I play the mermaids. So of course this nymph is immediately clicked with h6, so a nymph back to d3, getting tempo over the knight, and then the d5 move is played. And here again I don't want to take en passant. So I let this knight as it is, it doesn't threat a lot of things, maybe it threats to capture on f2, so this is why I decided to put the nymph on e3. And then we had a surprising move, knight to b4. At first, this move seems logic. You gain a tempo over the nymph has to go here, or even you call for an exchange here, and then your pawn would get isolated, you have to put back the fin, and then there's something, maybe you can try to challenge the stuff. Like, I don't really get the point of this, but knight to b4 is played, and I guess he wanted to remove this strong nymph, which is on water. The problem with this move is that this is a blunder, and my opponent is gonna lose. Already on the move 7. Not by checkmate, but by material. He's going to lose a piece. So feel free to pause the video and find the correct move for white, while I give you a couple of seconds. Okay, so I hope you all get this move, which is to swap the nymph with the pawn on h2. What's the point of this? Remember, when the nymph is on water, it can swap place with pawns. And here you have 2 pawns you can swap with. You can swap with this pawn, but the knight would capture anyways. Or you can decide to swap with the h2 pawn, and then even you have 2 nymph on dark squares. This knight is completely trapped. It's going to be captured here, get captured here, get captured here. Here there's a double attack, so it gets lost. And I don't even have to mention v square, where it gets taken anyway, and there is no big damage on the structure even more. So that's very cool for me. I would win a piece and still have a strong play in the center. So here he gets a little mad and he decided, okay, I'm going to lose, so anyway I would rather take on f2, and this is a fork, but as this knight is hanging, you just have to capture it back, and this is okay. And at least my king side is very destroyed. Not that destroyed, because even this is open on the FR, I just have to swap back here, and then I will be likely to get a correct structure. And here the question is, what do you capture with? You might be tempted to capture with the nymph, with the idea of you going to castle queenside at some point. Yes. But here I wanted to try something very sharp here and go a very full YOLO mode with king captures m2. My goal is that after this moves and this move, I don't know where, because you have to defend this pawn at some point, I don't know, later move here, you can directly put the shell on e1, and then the rooks are connected, and you can try to break here and try to get some sharp lines, and then enter into the thing. And I will have a lot of activity with my pieces. And I was thinking, okay, up a knight, I maybe have some compensations. The game is not fully open yet for him, so I can decide to prepare a massive attack that he wouldn't survive, at least. Maybe this is not the best move, but I wanted to try anyway. So after king takes f2, we have f6, and I guess the idea here is that, okay, the king is fully exposed in the center, so I'm going to expose the center, going to put my bishop, I don't know where, maybe on e7, and then the rook is going to join the party, and then he would go over the king. And this plan makes sense. At the condition I wouldn't accept the trade, like I wouldn't capture on f. So maybe I have to reinforce my e pawn, but the thing is that this is already defended, so no such thing. So against this, I decided to play fin to d2. Anyway, fin b2 d2 is a developing move. The idea is maybe you break later on c4. I try to do anything you can do, and even you can try to shift the knights at some point and get some activity. But here, knight back to 6-6, getting him with more pressure here. This is still fine, I'm still defended, but at some point, now that I have a lot of pieces here ready to go on, and remember this Kraken goes on water, I say, okay, I guess I'm ready for the attack, so I'll play nymph to f4, and the idea of this is, of course, to develop the shell. And with this shell, you see that it covers a square covered on water, so I would be defended by the Kraken anyways. So I think I would be right. And even if there's some move like this, okay, I would be able to back up, and it would really, I don't know, weaken this structure. So this is winning for me. And here at some point you have to be very careful when you play the humans of what you're gonna do. Your plan is to castle kingside. Excuse me, queenside, not kingside, because here at that point you have a lot of things pointing toward your king. So you want to put the queen over here. You want to put a bishop over here and then castle. And here maybe my opponent has a wrong move order, because now we have a pawn takes e5. And the problem is that after pawn takes e5, where is your plan? Suddenly something is changing, because this diagonal is completely opened. And this is hard to get some good squares. Like, for example, if you want to put this bishop here with the plan to go here with the queen. Okay, maybe, but at the point you would get the queen here, I would put my nymph here, and I would get a tempo. You can also put your queen here, but I would control this square and your king wouldn't be able to castle. At some point, even you target this, I have a lot of things to answer here. I can try to pin the rook, the pawn, and then I would capture the rook. Like, I have a lot of ways to deal with the position. So here, my opponent decided to play a bishop to b4. Why not? I guess he's planning to castle kingside at this point and try to hang on to the structure. I guess this is a very bad idea, because I just followed with shell to h5. And at some point, very concrete threats are happening. I want to go on g5 and try to challenge the structure, and if you would be likely to push, I can even sacrifice later with the nymph. So you have to be very careful. and here castle happens. Okay, this rook is cool because this is completely aligned with the king, but at some point I can just move back king the back on e1 and then this thing would get back the activity. But anyways, this is some serious stuff. I decided to think a little more about what I can do. I can try to go for these moves, but you can defend like this, so you have to back up and then go here. Like, it would be likely to survive. And none of my nymphs are on water, so I can't really exchange with this pawn and get a light square nymph. So I have to do something on the dark squares. So I decided to attack directly dark squares with nymph to h6, directly sacrificing the nymph. And here you can sure follow by this, but I would be captured here, he would capture here, and then I would try to get the activity I would get, maybe put the king on the light square, even this is risky. Maybe a plan that I was thinking of was to put here, to put this here or here even, and then swap the king with the shell, and then my king will be on safety on the queen side and my shell would be on the attack. Like, this was a plan that can be very thought of this. But my opponent here was thinking, okay, I'm losing anyways, something is gonna happen, I would get some compensation, so let's trade and get back my piece, and he took on h6. And I guess this is the mistake of the game, because with this, what are you gonna do? After nymph takes h6, your rook is basically attacked. And then, okay, you can play something maybe like rook to f5. But I would be likely not to accept the trade and go here for check. And I would be able to put back my nymph, it is possible. And if I can get this, this is even better. Like, that would be very strong. And even against this, I can directly put back the nymph and try to get some activity. Even this looks risky. So I don't know, a lot of things to be done with. Against this, my opponent decided to play a bishop to c5 check, and after king to e1, he played a very bad move, which is a rook to e8. Rook to e8 seems to be a decent move, but I guess you want to trade your rook against the shell here. This shell is too threatening. You have a combination here that can swap into the water. Like, this is not going to be such a good thing. And of course, the thing that would happen happens, and then you have shell to g5 check. And now, how are you gonna answer to that? Because let's say you want to play the king to the f7. Then I'm going just to play the shell here, I'm going to check. And here your king has no square, he has to go here. So after the king goes here, then I'll just play the shell here with check, and after the king moves back, then I can just snap the queen and this is game over. Like, I would have too much advantage for this, and even the rook captures and it would have things. I would be able to bring my other pieces, swap the knight with the kraken, and then get a quick mate over the board. And remember, the plan I wanted to have is to get the king, maybe not here because now this is open with the bishop, but get the king here, get the shell here, exchange, and then get some awful stuff here. I can even go even further if possible. If I can kick this bishop, if it moves, I would go here, 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 and this is really hard to attack from this spot, and then directly swap from here. Like, I have a lot of ways to deal with it. But of course this is not what is played in the position, and because he wanted to save his queen, he decided to put king to h8. But of course this completely loses. And it loses in 3 moves, so feel free to pause the video and find the mate in 3 moves for the mermaid, while I give you a couple of seconds. Okay, I hope you got this. The aim, of course, is to begin with nymph to g7 check, and you say, okay, it doesn't do anything, because after the king goes to g8, then the nymph is gonna go back with discover check and doesn't change anything. No, it changed something. Because when the nymph is gonna go over, it would create a water square. And then the kraken would be likely to go here with a final checkmate. The thing is that if you decide to go here, then the queen would sacrifice itself to capture. And then you're safe for a moment. You can, I guess, even, let me move the king, I guess you can even take with the kraken and threat mate, but you would have some ways to defend himself. So you don't have to allow this, and then you have to play the nymph to f6 check. So now this shell is completely protected, and you don't have any way to capture back this shell, because the nymph is just going here. You can even win the queen, but after a king, let's say, move to f8, who just moves to f7, then you put the kraken on the water square, and this is checkmate. So a very nice attack from the mermaids, where as you can see, when you know how to break the structure, you can have a lot of things. And you really have to relate on several stuff regarding this game. The first thing is that you have to keep your nymph, because you can get some attacks, even some sacrifice, create some water squares when digging into the game, and then put the Kraken here, that gets control. The other stuff is that at any point, even if your king is exposed, you can get it in water and then exchange with a shell which will not be placed, so then the king would be safe and the shell would be on the attack. And something I didn't talk about, because this was not the way to do in the stuff, but at some point your knight could have swapped with the Kraken at some point, and this is cool to dig. Also, another thing that I would highlight is that if you swap your nymph with a pawn on A or H, you can immediately get access to a shell and get some big attack. So let me just summarize the game from the beginning. I really like to do this to see how quickly it's come. So we have the opening, you have the knights going here, you have the push, occupying the center, get some square, get the tempo over the knight, getting the structure we get, defending f2, the blunder, the knight calls, and then the king takes. You open the f with the f pawn, but now I would develop, I prepare my attack, I just trade, and then the shell is on the way. Castle, and then the trouble begins. Sacrifice, you go with check, you defend, you just put the rook on the safe square, and then check, 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 checkmate. So a very banger move, as you might say. So this is the end of this video. I really hope you liked it. We're going to see each other next time for another faction. I have a very interesting game to show you for next time. See you then, and bye!